from 17 once again. This is my Last of Us Grounded Difficulty video walkthrough. This is the final chapter of my guide, chapter 10, entitled Fireflies. Some may be wondering, well, there's a level after this, technically, and you would be right with that observation, but you don't do anything in that level that is even remotely challenging or guide-worthy, so I'm not going to be sharing it. There's really no point. However, this level could potentially be very tricky. I'm happy to announce that this was one try. And I'm not saying that to inflate my ego or anything, folks. I'm saying that because there is no checkpoint, and you need to be aware of this. From the very beginning of this, all the way up to getting to the area where you shut the door to go to where Ellie is all one continuous checkpoint. Which sucks. It does. And do you see that just then? That was me getting very lucky. But that's what you're going to see quite a lot here in this first area. Because I didn't really know where these people went, because I don't really remember their pattern at all on my first playthrough. I just shot them, I think. But I'm going to divide and conquer. I'm going to move my way around to the right. I went around on the left hand side to get that brick. I was also hoping there would be a better path, but I forgot it led to the firing squad staring at you from the yellow corridor. But all of this is about being aggressive and about knowing where people are. So I could remember this room from my previous guide, and I remember there was two people covering each other's backs, and they were a nightmare to get past, because I went from a different direction. But from this direction, it was much easier to do. So I would say that this is probably the superior path through the room on the right than the left-hand side ever was. But two guys branching off from each other generally means you're going to have to isolate one of them and kill him. So we're going to wait for this dude. He's curious, but he's not onto us, which means we can take advantage of his lack of awareness, choke him out, and then we can push forward. So the first room is not so difficult. The second room I think is really difficult because there's a ton of guys, they've all got guns, and one mistake is potentially a firefest that you're not going to survive. That being said, in this walkthrough you're going to see a mistake, which I do survive, so I suppose it all depends on just how kind the AI wants to be. But these are the two fellas that cover each other's back. I've never understood the placement of these. It's kind of like a cock block. And I'm probably going to throw the brick here and then bypass them. Here I am. So there goes the brick. And it's funny because I've been playing this and then I went on to play Sniper Elite 3. Sniper Elite 3 has the ability for you to throw rocks, but it doesn't handle it anywhere near as elegantly as this game does, because that game is all kinds of bad in places. And there's an amazing glitch on that game where when you hold the right bumper to throw a grenade, sometimes it just throws it. It doesn't hold it. It doesn't give you the reticle. It's no reticle, and he throws it by himself. And at first I was like, is that my controller being shitty? And it wasn't. You know, it happened more than once. It's just this random instance where it registers as a button input rather than a sustained input, which is really shitty. But this is the last fella of this encounter. And I thought that when I went through this door, I would have got a checkpoint, but they removed it. And he really surprised me then by turning around, because look how erratic he's moving. It's kind of scary stuff. But we get through here, and the first thing I'm going to do is check, because there's this little animation that makes you think it's saving, but it ain't. And as soon as I saw this, that's when I knew shit was going to get busy. So 4 minutes of content to replay if I mess up. A little nervous at this point, little conscious that this level can be tricky, and without a checkpoint it's going to be even more tricky. Still hasn't updated, you know, time to grow a pair of balls, and hope to God I don't mess the next part up. But this game's amazing, man. I love this game so much. And I did, in fact, write a review for it. It was the review that helped me get a writing position for a website, which unfortunately wasn't paid. And if it was paid, I would be considerably happy. Or considerably happier than I am right now, because I'd be able to write about video games and make some money for doing it, which I've always been a fervent believer that if you're good at something, you should be paid to do it. And a lot of these websites want you to do it for free. They want you to essentially get do all the hard work and get none of the money or none of the royalties for it, which I think is really wrong. And at first I thought of it like getting your name out there, but the websites that are advertising are so small that my YouTube channel's bigger than them. And it's one of those things where you're alright, working for free and creating what you believe to be quality work for a website when its exposure is less than what you're already getting. And all the gaming journalists that I've ever read anything from have always said that, the biggest trap in games journalism is working for free. Because, essentially, there are a lot of companies looking to exploit, naive and hungry students / up-and-coming people who want to get into games in some variety. And they're more than willing to abuse that gullibility and that passion, which I wrote 2 reviews for that website, and then I pretty much stopped. I pretty much said, I'm looking for something that can sustain me, and as much as, I'm honoured that you gave me this position, it's just not financially viable. And then later on, I got another writing position that was advertised as paid, and it wasn't paid. It's illegal to do that, and it's still advertised on that website right now as paid, and I should really send like a complaint in to tell them to have it pulled, because I think getting somebody's hopes up who's been looking for work for quite some time in a field where you barely get replies, let alone acceptances, I got super excited over that, and then it was just everything flushed down the toilet because of people trying to fucking subvert the system. But back to the guide anyhow. This next room is very tricky. I run across that opening because I think it's one of the only real ways to get past it without being spotted. And I already know from experience on my Survivor guide that this bit sucks, and I keep checking that save, and it keeps saying longer and longer and longer, and you've just got to deal with it, folks. I'm not a fan of not being able to fall back on a checkpoint, but that's what they decided to do, so that's what we have to deal with. This next room has a ton of guys. I know that I could sneak through the right-hand side of this room, but then when I get there, I don't really have a plan. So I look at my equipment and I notice that I have the smoke bombs, and I haven't used them. And I think I tried to use them on my Survivor guide, and it didn't really work. So I'm going to try and use them again, and I managed to use them much, much more effectively. So there's torches everywhere here, and I have no idea when I'm safe, when I'm not safe. But I think I should probably try and push forward to where that brick is. There's a couple of guys in this room, but there's a definite path, and there's a definite opportunity for me to get through that room. So I contemplate throwing the brick, but then he moves away, and I think I'm going to move. I'm kind of just scouting the place, reconnoitering. A lot of guys here, a lot of people moving too, a lot of movement. Goodness me, that was ballsy, but thankfully his awareness was not high enough to spot me. The other guy's moving through the room, which gives me a lot of time. Am I going to bow him? I don't think I'm going to bow him, that seems foolish. If you don't know, when you shoot the arrows at people with armour on, I don't think it's an instant kill. I think you have to hit an unarmoured part of their body for it to count. But we know here that the guy to my right is going to come all the way back into this room, and then he's going to go all the way back into the other room. So the moment he turns around, I'm going to try and follow him. And he just so happens to move here. And I believe that this is a bit of a blind spot, so I take him out. And then that happens, which shit me up big time. Like, why did he randomly do what he just did? Is that where he's supposed to be and the spawn was late? Because the enemies don't seem to be onto me, but that guy's moving around very questionably. So we push on into this room, and at this point there's a few people stopping us from the main door. The scary part is there's actually more people than you think there is, because they're hiding behind the sandbags. And I completely forgot about that as well. So push through the office. This is the final window, and this is the moment of truth. This is what all the 8 minutes of gameplay so far all falls on. So the first smoke bomb I'm about to use here works really well. Hang on a second, Chris, you're supposed to make another one. Maybe not. So I throw a smoke bomb, then I throw a bottle to distract people, and then I notice that there's more people behind the barricade than I realised. That's me trying to make something with the wrong button. That was almost, potentially fatal.
check over there.
So here, this is my mistake, guys. Throw it closer to you, because you see how it rolled? It rolled and it left me vulnerable here. So I just took a bullet. I'm still alive, and as soon as you hit this, you've done it. Lesson to learn there, obviously. Make sure you have 2 of those bombs before you start throwing them, and make sure that second throw is better than the one I just displayed. Like, you could probably even throw it in your room against the wall and get a better radius on the cloud than I just did.
I got you.
But this is it, folks. This is the finale of taking Ellie with you. Believe it or not, you can get shot here. And I didn't realise you could. Which seems a bit dumb to me, considering you can't really do anything except for maybe zigzag and pray.
I said get back!
So if you look, I just took a bullet there, which is weird. But there it is. Completed grounded mode. Is it a gold trophy? That should be a fucking platinum trophy for how much they said this difficulty was challenging. But once again, platinum trophies, I'm not even going to get into the whole notion of them. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it helpful, and if not, I hope it was even the remotest chance it might have been somewhat entertaining. The next projects you're going to be seeing on the channel will be the Wonderful 101 on 101% hard mode, and probably some more Balls Deeps, and then maybe something special, who knows. Thank you for watching, you take care now.